All right, looks like we're pretty much all set. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to my stream. I'm Pierre, your host. I hope you're all doing great today. Anyways, so today we have quite a bit of work to do. And we're going to start off like we always do, first by going over to the computer. We're going to check out very quickly what we did yesterday, and then we'll tackle our day from there. So yesterday, what did we do? Well, actually, it was a very short stream. I think we were only here a half an hour. What we did do is just add some shadowing to our red background and to our blue background to basically end up where we are today, which is right where we were for the last 3 days. So I am just going to come over here in my living room because I noticed I didn't have my right pair of glasses on. So there we go. I feel much better when I have my work glasses. So what are we going to do today? Well, actually what we're going to do today is I'm going to mask off this area, the whole sides, and then we're going to splatter some paint on our red background. That is what we're going to do. So I am going to start off by getting the paint ready. No, maybe I'm going to start masking off the center. So I'm just going to go back here for a second, grab some newspapers. There we go. And we're going to start to mask off this entire area right here. So, what is the best way to do this? There are several methods. I am basically just going to put some little markers on this newspaper. I don't mind if I go a little bit beyond the blue because there will be a black edge. So I think something like that. I'm just going to eyeball it. Well, not even. I wasn't even close, so like that. And what's that look like? That looks pretty good right there. So I can fold this in half. Whoops, Jesus. Okay, so fold that in half, grab some scissors right here, and I'm going to start cutting this newspaper, which we will tape to the painting, just like that. That looks pretty good. So if I can get my thumb out of the scissors, it would be even better. Grab some tape, which I have right here. I think the first thing I have to do is kind of get organized in my head. So what I'm going to do is just get a bunch of little pieces of tape together so we can not have to stop every few seconds to cut up the tape. And then when I set this painting on the ground, I'll just put some sheets that I have and some drop cloths to hide the edges. So let's get back to here. Let's find where this can go and cover the whole thing. I would say right about right there. There we go. Right here, make sure that the paint doesn't splatter underneath, if possible. Just like that. And I will do the same thing again. Grab some paper here. Kind of draw out the section we're going to cut out, right like that. And I don't know what's going on in the churches today, but the bells don't seem to stop ringing all friggin' day. Bells ringing, I don't know. Are we some sort of a religious holiday, or? I'm in the old part of Nice, and the cathedral, which has been built, I don't know what, like in the 5th century, it's really old, is just like 2 minutes away. So every time there is like an important personality getting buried or something, well, the bells go right at it. And today seems to be one of these days where the bells are never ending. So, now of course on my microphone I could probably put what they call a noise gate. The noise gate gets rid of all the ambient noise in the background, but I kind of like that noise because the whole point of this stream is to kind of share everything that goes on in my studio, and that includes having friends stopping by, or the noise of the garbage truck in the streets, or people yelling or whatever. Well, that's part of the ambiance of my studio, so I kind of like that. So all that to say that I don't really put on a noise gate on my microphone. Which means that you do hear a lot of hissing and shh, kind of a noise in the background, but I apologize for that, but I kind of like it. That's the whole point of, like I said, of this stream, was to kind of share everything that goes on, including the noise of what's going on in the streets. And it's really noisy here because the streets are very, very narrow, since all these buildings were kind of built in the 17th century. And like between the building next door and my building, I would say there's like 14 feet. So very narrow streets. So the sounds kind of reverberate and bounce off all these buildings. And that's why it's extremely noisy. And today is the first day that the French have stopped I've opened up the terraces and the cafes and stuff, so there's a lot of ambient noise. People are finally, after months of being under the confined at home, and the curfew has been lifted from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that's going to help as well, get back to civilization, normal life again. And there goes those bells again at the friggin' church, man. Unbelievable. I don't know why those bells are ringing. It's not I don't think it's a religious holiday today. Whatever. Okay, so we got the center part done. Let's make sure everything stays taped. Come on, don't give me a hard time now. There we go. Want to make sure the paint doesn't sneak underneath when I'm splattering the paint. So we got that part done. Let's move on to the next part, which is putting this canvas on the floor. And then we'll get the paint ready. I'll get the paint ready first because I don't want to step all over the canvas. There we go. I'll just leave the corner staples on. Get these other staples off. There we go. All right, very good. So we got that done. Get the newspaper out of the way. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get the black paint ready because I'm going to splatter on with black first, and then I might go on top of that with some gold, but I'm not sure yet. I'm going to take this one step at a time. First I'm going to get the black paint ready. So here's the black. Oh no, here I go. Okay, so this is a part where I'm going to start bitching again like I always do when I get to these frigid jars of paint like this. I mean, the mouth of the jar is so thin that to get the paint that's in the bottom is like a frigid nightmare. You know, these are even worse, right? I mean, when you get this much, no problem. With the knife, I can scoop everything out. But how do I get the last 3 inches of paint on these cans? Just about impossible. So what I have to do every time is get my knife out, cut the damn jar, and pour it into a larger jar. So I have a larger jar right here, which used to be an old jar of black paint until I switched brands. So what I'm going to take is just a minute. I'm going to cut this open. I'm going to put all this paint in here so it'll be easier to work with for the next few days, few weeks, or whatever. So first thing I'm going to do is try to not cut my fingers off. I wouldn't want to do that live on YouTube. So there we go. And actually, you know what I could do? I could just bring over, not that it's all that interesting, but I could just bring over my camera number 1 here, and we can just do this together maybe, right? So there we go. Switch to camera number 1. So you see I have my keyboard here as well, because this is the shortcuts on my keyboard that allow me to switch between cameras like that. So there's camera number 2, there's camera number 1, of course, and then of course I have camera number 3, which brings me back to my webcam. So anyways, that's why I have this keyboard over here, which is full of beautiful little spots of paint all over it. But it's a real cheap one, and you know, actually it's been working great. So love you, my guy. Thank you very much. So anyways, so here is the jar of black paint that I just cut open, and I'm going to just pour it into this pot right here. I have a nice little spoon right here that I'm going to use it. I'm going to grab a little bit what's on the cap because we don't want to waste a drop. Not when you see the prices that these paints cost. You do not want to waste anything. So I'm going to just drip all this. I have another couple of jars of black paint in my kitchen area here in my studio. I have a little kitchen area with a sink where I wash my brushes. I have a little living room area where I can entertain my friends with a few couches. And I have a little back room where I store all my paints, my canvases and whatnot. Actually, I even have a little loft with a big double bed there, because I did used to live in my studio at one point or another. So, there we go. So we have the paint here all nice and easy to get to the last drop. So much better than these stupid little jars that I was just showing you. So, this is a good time for me to figure out what brush I'm going to use for my splattering. I don't want the splattering to be too wide. I want them to be thin strips. So I have to pick the right kind of brush for that. And I think maybe this brush here, long hairs, fairly soft, it should make a nice little splatter. So, since I am going to use that brush, I can use that brush to clean off my spoon as well. There we go. And I'll clean off the spoon a little better just because I like to take care of my materials. There we go. There we go. Okay, so got that done. I guess I can put my knife till I get to my next jar that I have to cut open. So where were we? We were about to make the paint to do our splattering. So I am going to need a nice big palette for that to make quite a bit of paint. This still has red paint from yesterday's work, so I'm not going to use that. I don't want it to mix in with the black. So I'm just going to go in my back room over here where I have some other palettes. There we go. Here's one just right. Be perfect. In fact, they're all old paper plates, plastic plates. This is nice and dry, so I can definitely make my paints in there. I'm going to do the paint now because like that I can walk around and I have a lot more room than later when I lay the canvas on the ground to start the splattering. So let me get the black paint in here. I'm going to make quite a lot of it because we've got quite a bit of surface to do, and at the same time, if I have excess black paint, I can always put it back in the jar. So no waste. Let me just clean off my knife right away as well. As you've noticed, I'm pretty picky with my materials. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Very clean knife. Oh, might as well come back down here, right? Since we have the camera. It's not often that we have camera number one checking out what's going on here. So that's pretty cool. So we got all our big blob of black paint. And I think maybe just to go a little quicker, I'll just pour a little bit of water here. because I don't want the paint to be too thick, and I don't want it to be too thin that it loses its opacity. So I'm just going to blend this in like this, and hopefully we'll get a nice consistency to splatter paint. That is way too thick still. I think I can just pour a little more water in there. There we go. And of course, once we've done with the splattering, we will not be able to do anything else today until tomorrow when the paint dries. So this is still way too thick. If it was a smaller painting, it might do the trick, but on a long painting like this, I'm going to have to dilute this paint a lot more. So let's keep working this in. And this is, of course, the part where you have no control over. You don't know exactly, well, you try to control how the splatters are going to go, but half the time it's really just a question of good luck or bad luck. So I'm trying to reduce as much as possible the luck factor in this. Make sure that everything splatters the way I want to. That looks pretty good, but somehow something's telling me that it should have just a tad more water. So let's just add, just like that. Not much, but that might make all the difference in the world. So let's mix this in as well. By the time we have the frame to the painting all, well, let me think for a second here, because I was thinking of making a black frame to this canvas. So if I splatter paint and then right afterwards paint the edges, I won't have to. That means I'm going to have to go for sure with the black edges. Do you understand what I'm talking about? The reason why I kind of mask the edges of the frame is like that I can decide and change what color frame I'm going to make when the painting's all done. But on this painting, I kind of thought I would go with a black frame. So if I do go with the black frame, I don't really have to mask anything off, and I can go directly. Once I splatter, just paint the first coat of the frame. So, I didn't think about that earlier. That saves me some work. And that means we can just lay the canvas on the floor and start splattering right away. Well, that sounds pretty good. All right, I think I'm going to go with that. So, now that the thinking is all done, now that I'm done thinking, let's set the cameras the way we want them to be. So I'll bring camera number 1 back here. I'll kind of set it on the floor in advance. I'm probably going to have to move it again a little bit, but we'll see. Let me go to the double double cameras here. I have to take a few seconds and think this whole thing out for sure. So what am I doing here? I am going to take this down, going to set it on the floor, give myself some space to walk around to paint the edges, start splattering. All the mask is basically done. Okay, so I guess I'm all set, really. Right? So, okay, just checking out on my cameras here, make sure everything is going the way I wanted it to. That looks pretty good as well. So, I'm always hesitant. I have to think these things out because once you start, you can't stop. So I guess I'm all set. I'm going to just very quickly bring this down then. And let's bring this canvas on the floor like that. Okay, very good. So, we got that together. I am so used to hiding the frames that for some reason I'm hesitant to go ahead and start splattering, but I see no reason why I shouldn't. So, that is pretty good. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to bring this camera over a little bit like this. I'm going to zoom in like that. When I edit my movie afterwards, I will have a different frame to work with. And now we're going for the part where hopefully everything is going to work out the way it should. Yep, so I'm just going to switch over to camera number 1 and I'm going to start splattering. Let's do that. So these splatters are a lot bigger than what I was hoping they'd be, but no big deal, nothing I can do now. At least they look great. The splatters are looking very nice. Bonjour. So, do I want to add some more splattering or not? I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. Right here. Right there. There we go. And now that is done, I am going to paint the frame. Bonjour Claudine. Ah non.
On peut.
Oui, bien sûr qu'on peut. T'arrives juste quand je suis en train de... You fucker, parce que la caméra s'est mise floue là, sans que je voulais. Puis comme c'est pendant que je suis en train d'éclabousser, je pouvais... Eh oui, tout à fait. Ça va?
Yes. J'ai passé 2 minutes voir Maryse au magasin là-bas, de droite, vu qu'elle avait livré aujourd'hui, lui faire un petit coucou, voir si elle veut lui taper quelques pièces ou si elle garde que ce qu'il reste. Bah, ça lui fait super beau.
Oui.
J'ai pas réussi à... Ce matin, j'ai eu plein de trucs, du coup, je peux plus aller nager, mais demain matin, j'y vais. À voir même cet après-midi, si je rentre suffisamment peu. J'adore les couleurs au centre. Je te jure. C'est gris, les bleus mélangés. Tu travailles rarement, toi, avec des couleurs peu franches, hein?
Ouais.
C'est vrai, tu aimes les couleurs affirmées, on va dire.
Ouais. Ouais. Tu me fais une petite faveur? Tu peux appuyer sur le numéro 5 ou de mon clavier là-bas ou de là-haut, s'il te plaît?
Peut-être là-bas, ça va être plus simple. Quand je vais chercher mes lunettes.
Ah bah laisse tomber alors.
Ah bah moi, sans lunettes, j'y vois rien, mon dodo. Alors. Donc.
Merci.
Vérifie.
Ah oui, non, t'as pas appuyé dessus, non?
J'ai appuyé.
Bah pas assez fort alors.
Bah, il y a le 4 et le 5 qui sont descendus en même temps.
Non, le clavier qui est plus près de toi. Non, juste là, mais à l'autre bout. Voilà, là.
4.
Oui, il faut le 5.
Ah.
Voilà. Parfait, merci. On va faire des petits exercices de... Je comptais jusqu'à 5 et 6. All right, so let's keep painting away. There we go. We'll let this dry overnight, and tomorrow I'll staple it back on the wall. I hope I have enough paint to go all the way around. And while I'm here, I'm going to take this off as well. There we go. Make sure that is all done. to put a second coat of black paint anyway, so. There we go. Trying not to get too sloppy here. I'm not used to working on my knees. There we go. There we go. Give me some room to move here. There we go. Let's get the final stretches here. Whoops. There we go. Oh yeah, I still have my staples in there. Okay, there we go. Got that staple out. There's probably one on the other corner as well. Oh, let me just get up here. Let me just pull this over. All right, so let me bring this back up here. There we go. Much better. So, I guess there we have it. Staple this up tomorrow, put on a second coat of that black frame, tackle the centerpiece, and maybe day after tomorrow. What is it? A bunch of shit here from my floor. I know it's going to take a second coat, but still. There we go. So, there we go. There's today's stream all done. Got the black paint in a nice little new home. Pretty cool. All right. Not quite what I had in mind when I started doing this earlier, but no big deal. No big deal. I had I don't know. I had thinner strips of, and then oh fuck. Yes, I did say I would maybe do some splattering of gold. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that other idea. Well, not much I can do now. So, anyways, that comes to the conclusion of today's stream. Tomorrow we'll decide what we're going to do. Are we going to continue working on this painting, or should I, again, mask off the frame, add a little bit of gold, but I could probably do something else. I'll figure it out. We got all night to think about it. So anyways, like usual, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I hope you'll join me tomorrow, which is what? Tomorrow is Thursday. So tomorrow we'll be streaming in French, and we'll be streaming on Facebook Live under the name of Le Pigeonnier, which is the website or the Facebook page of our building of painting studios. So Le Pigeonnier, if you go to my home page on Facebook, there'll be a link sending you there. Anyways, you're most welcome to join us, brush up on your French. Being that I'm living in France, one day a week I do have to do my streams in French for my friends who live around here who feel a little left out. So anyways, so like I mentioned, I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to leave you with my schedule and by saying, ciao mes amis.